Little Sunday afternoon action here in Miami Gardens from Gulfstream Park West, and that is a live shot on what's turned out to be a somewhat rainy and wet morning here in South Florida. No turf today, sloppy main track, and we are getting set up for a 9-race program on what will be and is scheduled to be the last ever Sunday of thoroughbred racing here in this part of the state. A lot of history here at Gulfstream Park West and called a race course, but the show goes ahead, even if it is a little bittersweet. Jason Blewett, Ron Nicoletti alongside, and Ronnie, we'll get down to business in the shadow of the Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, Hard Rock Stadium, but that big guitar, every time you drive by it, it's amazing looking. It's just
pretty awesome, isn't it?
I don't know how they plan. And they built it pretty fast, too. So one day we'll go over there. I haven't been there yet since they built it. I'll check it out.
Yeah, me too. I went over, actually, for an Alice in Chains concert about 2 years ago, but not since it was finished. We'll have to do that, bounce over on over to the Hard Rock for sure. And, you know, as we get down to it, Ronnie, I mean, weather is once again kind of at the forefront as we, have the 9 races today. And unfortunately, no turf on the card. It's just not feasible given the amount of rain we had in such a short time. But that won't dampen our spirits. And looking ahead, you've got an abbreviated 3-day racing week forthcoming. There's no racing here at Gulfstream Park West on Thursday, which is Thanksgiving. The meet ends this coming Saturday, so there are 4 cards left in the mix, including today, but one of those cards will in fact play part in a near 6-figure carryover in the Stronach 5. That'll be the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, $91,000 plus. That's just the start. Last time around this kind of a carryover, they bet maybe $400,000 into it, something like that. It was back a while, so they're going to send it in, and you got a chance to, as Pete always says, Overlay City, you can make a lot of bucks.
Yeah, make a lot of bucks for sure. So yeah, we'll have the schedule of races. I think that normally comes out on Tuesday, and that'll be making the rounds on social media without a doubt, and hope everybody plays. You just can't beat it with the carryover and that 12% takeout. Now, we saw yesterday here at GPW, we saw a big Saturday for a few different people. Edgar Zayas, however, got the gold star, winning 4 races on the program. And he, off a 4-win Saturday, enters this final Sunday and the last of 4 programs here at Gulf West with a 4-win lead over Miguel Vasquez. But an outstanding top 5, and we'll see all these guys not only in action today, but of course across town at the big track.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle right till the end. Miguel, could come back and win 3. MCL, absolutely. Sammy, Paco, so it's, Edgar's got that slight lead now, but I wouldn't be counting on that one. It's going to be great to watch till the finish.
Yeah, I'm happy. I had tweeted out yesterday. I know it's not the winter meet, but it's neat that this thing is probably going to come down to the last, certainly the last card and maybe the last few races. It just always makes things a little more interesting. And the trainer standings, in fact, we'll check those out for a brief second here. And it's even tighter with a 1-win lead for trainer Rohan Crichton over Antonio, and Safi is nipping at their heels. And Antonio, Ronnie, picked up a late double sweep yesterday, and that brought his meet total to 15 wins.
Yeah, he actually finished 1-2 in the last. He had the exacta with his horses. So, this is going to go right down to the wire. So we got that going for us, and that'll be until, as you mentioned, next Saturday. Just a note, the next Saturday, mandatory payout in the Rainbow Six.
Definitely. Speaking of the Rainbow Six, we've got a guarantee. We are teetering on that $400,000 threshold. It's $375, in fact, but that is a lot of scratch here on this Sunday, November the 22nd. And maybe, depending upon some of the opinions you might have, maybe you don't have to go all that deep in some of the off-the-turf races a bit later on, including the 2 stakes that do play part, in fact, a third in the Sunday Jackpot Rainbow Six with that $375K guarantee. Early pick 5 in the meantime gets underway in about 50 minutes time, give or take, and I've got a $36 play, and Ronnie and I did the best we could after getting a slew of scratches about 20 minutes before the show began, so bear with us as we go through the card today. And the first race, I don't fully trust the 10 Congrats again, but in a way I view him as like the safety net. I'm taking a little bit of a shot with Buenissimo, who's down on the rail, Can you say that for me, Ronnie?
Bellissimo.
Good. That's
You got to
the
do it with your hand. You got to use your hands too.
No, I feel like I am part Italian or maybe even Jewish because I tend to get pretty animated when I talk. But I'm 110 to start with. Congrats again, unequivocally being the horse to beat. Second race. Eddie Pleesa scratched a horse that I really liked in the 5, the Great Oz, but he still has the 3, Think About It, who I used, in the 4, Grand Wiser. 3-pack for me there in the third, where Carlos David, who's got 11 wins at the meet, has the filly to beat in Crystal Coast, but got some breathing room there. I used the 2 favorites in the 4th, in Anita, and I think Lavi. You know what? I maybe didn't use the 2 favorites. I don't know what price Lavi is, but I think she can wake up today in for the 62.50, and then I'm all inside. The MTO scratched out of the 5th, and that means I like Danville, super high voltage, and Elaster for Safi in that cash out leg for $36. Now, I know, Ronnie, you're with the 10. Congrats again as we start the card at 1240, give or take, on the main, going 7 furlongs with this 2-year-old $25,000 off the turf maiden claimer. And although congrats again, his recent form not great, I would venture a guess you're giving him another chance in this race, hoping that maybe he just didn't want to go a mile last time out.
Yeah, and this time, don't forget, today will be 7 furlongs when this reverts to the main track with these 2-year-olds. So congrats again, his returns. He responded to the drop down from special weight to maiden claiming. He stalked the pace, and as you mentioned, he was 4th as the 3 to 5 favorite. That was going to 2-turn mile. I think the turn back to 7 is going to be good for him. I used Chip Shape and the main track only, number 13, Party of No, and I did not use Bellissimo.
Buenissimo is down inside for J.C. Avila. I'm taking a little bit of a stab. I know this horse's main track debut and career debut at that. He was almost 40 to 1. He did no running over a track, very reminiscent of the one that he's going to catch in about 50 minutes' time. It was sloppy and sealed, but he is down from special weight to maiden 25, and I'll take a flyer with the trainer that I like quite a bit. We'll stay with the 2-year-old scene, but we'll come up on a scheduled dirt race in Sunday second, a $50,000 to $40,000 maiden claimer. Did you, like me, pick the 5, the Great Oz?
I had the Great Oz on top of there, and plus, police, as you mentioned, kept Think About It in there. So you definitely used the Great Oz in there and just bumped up the 2-horse in here as the son of commissioner, debuting for Gustavo Delgado. A string of stamina-enhancing workouts showing over this track in preparation for this assignment. I got a stat with his 2-year-olds, first-time starters on the dirties, 5 for 27, 19%, 52% in the money, and a nice return of investment, 466. But I'm thinking you might be on to something there with Eddie keeping the 3, Think About It in.
Yeah, maybe there's an argument to be made that Eddie likes the 3, Think About It, a lot. Second time out, and feels as though this gelding's going to improve off a race, a run in a rainstorm, and here it is, in fact. And, you know, this was something I had talked about as we rolled the replay with Victor Barboza here a couple of days ago, where Victor scratched the favorite, ran a horse who would have been a bigger price, and wound up galloping in Friday, I think the second or third race on Friday's card. But here is Think About It, who just ran pretty well. Now, Spear Gun, who's on the lead there in that maroon cap, is a big 4 to 5 favorite and just had a class edge in hindsight and wired the field for Ralph Nix. But you can watch Think About It kind of grind and peck away with that 5 wide late run into second, and second out this afternoon for a barn that historically does well with second-time starters. You might get a gelding who's a little more forwardly placed in this race, and I opted, although I respect Eddie's horse, I'm hoping the 4 Grand Wiser. Speaking of Victor Barboza Jr., that horse has a Misael for that barn, colt by Flatout, who is bred to like an off-track in his debut. We'll hit the third before taking a little break on the show. We'll go 7. Again, this 1 mile off the turf race, much like the first, reverts back to 7 furlongs. You've got some 2-year-old filly, $40,000 to $35,000 maiden claimers, and a horse that does look pretty solid here in the 10 Crystal Coast, who's got speed and nearly got the 7 in a very, very comparable spot last time out for trainer Carlos David.
Yeah, and he responded to the drop down last time out against those 40 maidens, as you mentioned, going 7. That race moved from turf to dirt. Similar situation today. Paco Lopez is going to be in the irons for Carlos David. I went with the 2, Big Bad Diva in second, is a daughter of Skip Shoot by Skip Away, debuting for Safi with a slew of Palm Meadows workout showing for her 7 furlong debut. Just a couple of horses and first-time starters. Spicer's Gold, first-time starter for Kelsey Dana. Just saw you use them. I think the 10 to me was the one to beat.
Yeah, she is absolutely the horse to beat. Dave Fox, meanwhile, has a firster, the 11 Sweet Felicia, debuting for E5, who's a Jess's Dream out of a Put It Back Dam. We'll see how the firsters do, but Carlos is going to find himself a pretty short price with the 10 Crystal Coast in that third race. As we take a little breather here on the other side of this timeout, we'll chase the rainbow for a lot of bread here at GPW.
In the two path. Ground on her inside. Race. A quarter of a mile to go, and he's 6 yards out. Last of the 12 as they roll into the backstretch.
Hey everybody, Jason and Ronnie back with you. Second segment of Gulfstream Park West today on this fourth to final afternoon of racing during the meet. And with that in mind, Ronnie, we are making plans, of course, and we're certainly anticipating and just very excited about the opening of Gulfstream Park with the championship meet beginning in about a week and a half's time on Wednesday, December 2nd.
Yeah, it's just around the corner, as they say. So we'll get through these few races, days left here at Gulfstream Park West with a chance to take down a lot of money with that Stronach 5, a Rainbow 6. So lots of money to be made, so you could save it for the championship meet.
And what are we doing on that opening Saturday? That is a big one. No question about it, and it will be electric, and it'll be a great vibe throughout the afternoon. It is another round, the 2020 rendition of the Claiming Crown.
Yeah, it's going to be just a great weekend. We got some really nice horses already on the list ready to try and run in those races. They're always 12-horse fields, so certainly going to be a lot of fun. I'm really waiting. I can't wait to get going.
Yeah, absolutely. 270-plus nominations to the 9 Claiming Crown Stakes on that opening Saturday, December the 5th, over at the old GP by the Sea. But here we are at GPW in Miami Gardens, and thankfully we've been able to kind of shed the raincoats. The rain has tapered off as we basically, Ronnie, hit the main track in a sloppy one at that for the opening leg of the Rainbow 6. I would imagine you've got the 3 Nanita pretty prominently placed here to start. In fact, you like the same 2 horses that I do, the 3 and 7.
Yeah, Nanita and Lava are going to show you Nanita's last race. And then race number 5, I really like the 2-horse Super High Voltage. Should like the off-track in there, but I use reliability for the hot Brittany Russell Bond. She owns Laurel up there, so too deep.
What a year for her.
Yeah, too deep. And in race number 6, I use Cozy Cafe and Goodbye Gabby. And then race number 7, that's the juvenile turf, taken off the turf. I still like Hot Blooded in there, Full Meanie and Big Thorn in that race. Race number 8, the Too Deep with It's My Lucky Girl and Beast of Wildwood. And I closed it out with 4 in the last, and I used the 5 to 13. But my top pick is the 14 Crumbun. I like the way that horse ran last time out. And I just think, in the Asina, I think it was. So I just used 4 there to have some coverage. And like you said, when you're at the top, maybe a couple of these races are pretty formful and you could single or maybe use just 2 like I did.
Yeah, definitely. And I think 2 might be good enough to move on to the 5th race if you're playing the Rainbow and/or early 5 and/or early pick 4, preferably all 3, in fact, because you've got 2 horses that, although a little disparate on paper, make a lot of sense here for the 6250 claiming tag. The first of which, and the horse to beat, without a doubt, is Nanita. Antonio Sato off a 2-win Saturday and picking up his 15th win in the process with Mr. Leonardo in the nightcap is right back with this filly by Chitu. And here's her last start. Just a very good effort with a horse who's clearly in a good groove right now. She handles a wet track. She's got early speed. She's got Paco. And she's also coming out of a race against a 12-horse field. I mean, look at the size of this field she was in against back on Halloween in the last race. This was a deeper field, and she's going to be a tough favorite to get by in this spot. And I would imagine, Ronnie, basically all the intangibles I just mentioned are the reasons you've got her on top as she looks to make it 2 for 16 in her career.
Yeah, I mean, she broke from post 11 last time out in that big field, and I thought she ran a pretty nice race. You saw she handled the sloppy track, and you're getting Paco penciled in for the return riding assignment in there. But Labby's an interesting horse who's dropping to this level today after facing considerably tougher with limited success both here and across town for Emmy Gaffney. And you got the red-hot Miguel Vasquez going into this race. He's second in the jockey standing. So that's the horse that I find intriguing in that spot.
No, I'm with you, and I'm taking her on the dip, the 62.50. I hope she's not my horse, but I hope it's not a little too late for this drop. It does seem like she's just, I mean, you noted her form of late, our last, say, 4 or 5 races. It hasn't been all that pretty to look at or even watch. I'm hoping she's just not sour and even dipping in for 62.50 won't pick up her heels today. But I'm gonna be optimistic in this spot, although it doesn't sound like it. And you gotta put your horses where they can be competitive. And she's just been so overmatched in every race she's run in 2020. Hopefully this is a different ball game for her. The 5th race will start a sloppy track, all main track, late pick 5 on this Sunday afternoon at Gulfstream Park West. Another $36 play. I'm with you, Ronnie. I do like Crumb Bun, but I also use KO's horse. In fact, Kathleen's got a couple of horses in the last race, and I had liked prior to her last start where I think the 16, This Is My Time, just left her race in the starting gate. She just didn't fire. She's clearly far better than that, and I'm curious if she can get back on track this afternoon. But I do think going 7 in an off-the-turf stake to close out the week, Crumb Bun is going to be favored and does look pretty reliable because she's just been so good and so classy for Larry Bates. 2 chalks, the same 2 horses Ronnie used in the 8th for me. That is a good 7th race. I'm a little bummed. I'm sure everybody's a little bummed just as far as the weather, which we can't control with the juvenile turf. We'll call it the juvenile dirt now, Ronnie, being moved to the main. But that's still a pretty good matchup where you've got a couple of horses that ran on that getaway Saturday over at Gulfstream Park, including the 8 Cezanne and the 6 Fulmini. I also included and respect the 10 Hot Blooded, even if at the end of the day he's a little bit better on the turf. And then 2 horses that have experience and history with one another in the 6th race, preferring the 3 Cozy Cafe, and then the 5th race, hopefully as easy as 1, 2, 3. Between Danville down on the rail, who's coming out of, in terms of just overall quality, I feel like the races that gelding is coming out of, they're solid. I mean, Ralston, You Can't Catch a Curlin, Gloria, Florida, those are legitimate dirt horses when this horse is starting in an off-the-turf race. So no issue with him. You've got Danville, the rail horse, posted in 3rd. We both like the Trombetta horse in Super High Voltage, who I got to tell you, for a brilliant speed tap-it gelding for Live Oak and Mike Trombetta, I'm very encouraged that this horse ran okay going short on the dirt earlier in his career. And I would venture, my argument is he's just improved dramatically since those races and hopefully just won't have an issue switch hitting and getting back on the main track this afternoon there with Edgar Zayas.
Yeah, and we got a Tommy alert in here, a Tomlinson number. He gets a 404 mud number, the number 2 Super High Voltage.
440, dude.
440, so he's bred the handily off track. Reliability, as I mentioned. Been watching Brittany Russell up there at Laurel. She's having a fantastic year. Jockey changed to Joe Bravo. Nice win on the Laurel turf. Got to prove he could run on the main track today. Danville, for all the reasons you mentioned.
Definitely. A 440 Tommy. I would imagine that's a pretty big number, right?
Yeah, that's right there. Over 400, you start looking. Otherwise, yeah, it's all right. I don't look at him that much, but I know you like to hear that word, Tommy.
I do. I love the Tommies. Reliability's got a 390. He's the Juddmonte castaway who Brittany's done a good job with. And this is her first foray into South Florida racing with the string up at Palm Meadows. And wishing her the best of luck not only today, but moving forward to the championship meet, which is the reason she is down here in South Florida. Let's get on to the 6th here. Scheduled dirt race coming up. up midway through the program with this 3-up filly mare maiden special weight. 3-7 for the boys here on the show. In fact, a colt 3-7-4. And Ronnie and I putting most of our eggs in the basket of the rematch fillies, in fact, from October 30th. And here's the race between the three Cozy Cafe, who did break legitimately slow. She's the one, and that's why I pulled it from this point on. Wanted to show she was just a little slow getting in the stride with that blue cap down inside, and she'll put forth a pretty good effort, all things considered, with the sluggish start for Eddie Plisa. Goodbye Gabby, though, has been very reliable. I know she's been a little bit of a bridesmaid who's burned a little bit of money along the way, but she is speedy and she will fight. I also think there's a big distinction as we pick up the race above the quarter pole with Goodbye Gabby turning back to 6. I think she doesn't. This race, by the way, was at 7 furlongs. I don't think she wants to stay 7. And cutting back a furlong today, an eighth of a mile, is going to help her. And, you know, in the case of Cozy Cafe, Ronnie, I mean, what can you say? She's just run 2 fine races to this point for Eddie Plisa Jr. Neither one of these fillies has to run against an odds-on Todd Pletcher horse in Abilene Trail, who won by a neck.
Yeah, ridden by Paco Lopez today. Angel Arroyo's still out, so Paco will be there. And the other horse that we both use, Cats of Dream, is the daughter of Tisway, debuting for Whisper Hill Farm, and Ralph Nix with a series of sharp morning workouts showing over across town at Gulfstream Park. And you get an MSCL Jaramillo.
Yes, you are. Who's trying to gain a little bit of ground on Miguel and Edgar, who have a few wins on him in the standings. But Misael live throughout the afternoon as we move into our opening stake. We'll call this one the Florida-bred Juvenile Dirt, 60K off the turf, of course. It'll go at 7 furlongs over the main track. And let's start with your horse, the 10 Hot Blooded, who I think is probably, in the grand scheme of things, going to be a better turf horse. But he was okay here, going a very demanding 7 furlongs, breaking his maiden on the main at Gulfstream in late July.
Yeah, makes his debut here for Carlos David. A productive campaign across town in which he followed that maiden victory you were alluding to with that driving score on the turf. That was the 1 mile, 75,000 proud man. He's a versatile son of Declaration of War. He's got MSCL Jaramillo, in the saddle. And I can understand using Formili on top of your ticket just because of that performance in the armed forces.
And he's got speed.
Yeah.
And I was really between. I almost pulled the trigger on the 8 Cezanne, who I think has run pretty well on the dirt thus far. Maybe a prescient move for Ralph. Who knows if he was going to run this gelding by Kozan on the turf. But they are playing Cezanne's game as he drops out of the in reality against Boca Boy and was a distant third, 2 back in the Affirm. So I think in the class department, Cezanne is a good fit against this field, but he's such like a low gear grinder that I gave the edge to the 6 Fulmini, who does have that good race 2 back in the armed forces and just is a naturally quicker horse out of the starting gate. I'm going to go 6-8, Ronnie 10-6 there in the off the turf 7. We'll move on to the 8th. We both like the favorites in this one, and getting away from the 3 Beast of Wildwood and the number 4 horse, It's My Lucky Girl. Let's throw the 6 solid as a rock. You've got those three favorites, rather, who are going to take probably 95% of the money in this race. And you and I are rolling the dice, my friend. She's been good. It's the 4, It's My Lucky Girl. You got the leading trainer, and what is this? Potentially her 4th consecutive victory.
Yeah, we've seen leading trainer with Rohan Crichton a lot, been pretty all week meet long, but he's only up by 1 now, so he's going to need this one. This one going for its 4th victory in a row, 3rd-rate score locally, so this one loves the local surroundings, a Beast of Wildwood, and as you mentioned, solid as a rock, stretching out to 3/4 today. Thought that one would run okay in there.
What do we do in the nightcap? We both like Crumb Bun. Do you give a look to perhaps horse that I think will run big in the 16, This Is My Time, who really seemed to step up her game as the summer wore on over at Gulfstream? It just seemed like that filly kept getting better and better for Kathleen O'Connell, and she had flipped Edgar off prior to the start of her last race here on October 8th, and I really think just kind of melted down before the race began, and I'm just drawing a line through that. But when it comes down to it, I mean, how good? I mean, Larry Bates has really done, he and his team, getting the best out of Crumb Bun as when you consider she began her career as kind of like a nondescript, low-level Florida-bred maiden claimer. I mean, she's really legitimately blossomed and evolved into one of the more consistent and classier older Florida-bred fillies or mares we have on this circuit currently that race on the dirt.
Yeah, you know, turning back to 7 today, as we mentioned at the top, all these 2-year-olds races, and this one particularly because it was 7.5, revert back to 7 furlongs. I think she's going to run well. What do you do with Our Prerogative you have in third, who's stretching out to 7? She turned on the afterburners last time out to defeat those 25 optional claimers, going 5 in the slop. This barn, as everybody knows, going to have this one on the engine.
Yeah, she's a speed horse. I worry about her staying 7 against this field.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to be up there. Does it set it up for a horse like Crumbun who's going to stalk in here? And that's what I thought when I was putting this race together.
All right, MTOs for the boys, wrapping things up as we turn things over. We'll give the mic to Gabe Pruitt up in the booth, and he's coming up next with a bevy of Sunday scratches and changes.